You want to know something that's crazy? I remember a time before, really well before the boom happened, before the pandemic happened, and everybody got crazy with Pokemon. And I was running a business, running my store, and I remember buying booster boxes from distribution. And we wouldn't buy a ton of them because they were basically break even, or you would lose money selling booster boxes. And loose packs, you would have to sell basically at a loss all the time. We would buy loose packs frequently for like $2 a piece. Like I remember buying Evolutions packs a couple years after Evolutions had already released. People would get them for prizing at tournaments and things like that, and then maybe they would sell them. They didn't want to open them. They were sick of opening Evolutions at the time, and they would be like, what's your buy price for loose packs? And we would just buy them at $2 a piece, because we would have to sell them usually at $2.50. I remember putting signs up at regional events, and you could buy 4 booster packs for $10, 4 modern era booster packs. And I remember doing this throughout the Scarlet, or throughout the Sun and Moon era, pretty much throughout the XY era as well, where you could come and we would have, 7, 8, 9, 10 different pack variants that you could purchase, and it would be $2.50 per pack, which is crazy to me because nowadays booster packs have really gotten to a point where finding them at MSRP seems to be a good deal. And I was looking the other day at what Sword and Shield packs are kind of going for, because I was like, well, maybe I can get back to fanny packs soon. Maybe putting Sword and Shield era packs in there would be a good idea. I could not believe the price point on some of them. So we're going to start looking at some Sword and Shield era data here when it comes to booster packs, which is crazy to me. Before we jump into things, I do want to remind everybody that we are giving away an entire master set of Destined Rivals to one lucky subscriber. So everything that you can pull from a booster pack is in here. Every special illustration rare, every illustration rare, everything. It's all in this beautiful binder that was custom etched for us by The Unlucky Collector. Give him a follow on Instagram at The Unlucky Collector. We do this for every set release, so black and white's going to be nuts. But we are going to give this away. So make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, and then you want to go to this video right up here. You want to leave a like and a comment on that video. Boom, you are entered. That's all you have to do. So subscribe, like, and comment on that video. I will leave a link in the description for that video. We're going to announce the winner July 4th, Friday, July 4th at the beginning of the video. So black and white's going to be nuts. I don't even know what to say. It's just every day I'm thinking more and more about it. I'm just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. We're going to have to figure it out. But let's talk about Sword and Shield booster packs. We don't have to figure it out right now. But even starting out with Sword and Shield base. So you can see Sword and Shield base here up 64% over the past year, which is crazy. And part of the reason behind this, and really a big reason behind this, is because rip and ships have become such a viable option for people to be able to buy Pokemon cards, to be able to buy Pokemon products. Even where we are now, with Pokemon kind of cooling off a little bit, still very popular, it is still very difficult for a lot of people to go into their local big box store and find booster packs on the shelves. And because of that, people are kind of sitting around at home like, okay, well, I couldn't find any booster packs, and maybe they log into Whatnot, or maybe they log into YouTube and they find their favorite streamer who's opening up booster packs for them. Because of that, because of how big streaming has become, the inventory for booster packs has become a problem. Even though there's been so many Pokemon cards printed and so many booster packs that have been printed, this is kind of like the perfect storm, which is why we have a lot of singles falling, because more and more singles are being pulled, and a lot of booster packs rising because a lot less booster packs are becoming available, because they keep getting opened on rip and ships, on streams, on things like that. So even sets like Sword and Shield, which doesn't have a whole lot in the set as far as value goes, is climbing to really surprising heights. You can see in December of 2024, this was $4.27. So basically right around MSRP. Remember, Sword and Shield had a different MSRP than what we're seeing now in Scarlet and Violet. Sword and Shield MSRP was like $4.18, somewhere around there. Now we have MSRP of about $4.49. So $4.27, right around MSRP for a set that's got a few years of age to it, really started climbing, and really quantity of sales started climbing as well, because more and more people were buying inventory for maybe their rip and ship streams. And because of that, even Sword and Shield era booster packs saw tremendous growth. So you're looking at about 64% growth over the past year, with all of that happening over the past 6 months. So it jumped up to about $7.75 recently. It's currently sitting at $7.33 right now, but continuing to grow. Here's Rebel Clash, another set where there's not a whole lot in it. Rebel Clash was a decent set for competitive play, but outside of that, now that a lot of those cards have rotated out of competitive play and can't be used in the standard format anymore, there's not a whole lot of use for competitive players when it comes to Rebel Clash. However, sealed items still doing extremely well, even though the chase card in this set is probably like the full art boss's orders, not a whole lot in it, but still you're seeing 102% growth on a set like Rebel Clash, which is very surprising. In June of 2024, this was sitting about 50 cents cents below MSRP at $3.48, and just saw steady growth since then, even with like some really like strong sales volume on some weeks on TCG Player. You can see there in March, February, right around 120, 140 packs being sold on a weekly basis. And because of that, that's contributed to this really historic climb that we're seeing from a lot of booster packs. This went up 102%, sitting at 705 right now and continuing to climb. Even sets like Darkness Ablaze. Darkness Ablaze really was kind of the start of a ton of Pokemon attention. It was right before Logan Paul did his first edition box break. It was right around the time of Champion's Path releasing. Darkness Ablaze was a big deal because it introduced us to the Charizard VMAX, but other than that, there was just not a whole lot of excitement behind the set. In July of 2024, this is a $3.13 booster pack, so well below MSRP, but still decent sales volume that happened up until recently. Recently, it's not moving as fast as what it was, not as liquid as a lot of these other sets, but started climbing. In December, you can see really starting to take off. It jumped up to $7.26. Recently, it's retraced a little bit, lost about 10% of that, down to $6.44, but still up about 96% and continuing to climb. Here's Champion's Path, that specialty set that we were just talking about. This one has not moved as much as some of these other ones. Yeah, you have the Charizards in here. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of chase cards in this. It was actually trending down for part of 2024. In June, it was right around $10, but then in September, it was closer to that $8 mark. $8.56 was its one-year low. Started taking off in December. It leveled off a little bit, and then started taking off again in March. Now it's jumped up to an all-time high, sitting at $14.25. I should say just off of its all-time high of $14.30. So still really strong growth at 46%. Here's Vivid Voltage. This one a little bit cheaper than the other ones we're talking about. Even like Rebel Clash, Darkness Ablaze, Sword and Shield base, not a whole lot of love for Vivid Voltage, even though it's got that Rainbow Rare Pikachu in it. This was the first introduction that we had to Amazing Rares, which ended up being a lot easier to pull than what I think a lot of people thought they were going to be. Trending down a little bit in 2024. You can see in September is when it hit that one-year low at $3.49, but still moving fairly well. A little bit more liquid than some of these other ones that we looked at. Started taking off quite a bit in December. It's bounced back and forth a little bit over the past couple months. You can see it hit its one-year high at $6.64 at the end of March. Came back down a little bit, went back up, now came back down. Now it's gone back up a little bit to $6.16, up about 75.5% and continue to climb. Battle Styles, this is where things start getting a little bit interesting because Battle Styles was the introduction of those alternate arts from the Sword and Shield generation, which really kind of changed the card collecting game for a lot of people. In September of 2024, this was sitting at $3.52. So if you rewind time just like 8 months, a lot of booster packs from the Sword and Shield era that can be had for under MSRP. But look at the sheer volume of sales that happened between December of 2024 and March of 2025. Lots of sales happening, going to rip and ships, going to places where a lot of this product is getting ripped open, torn open. In March of 2025, this hit a one-year high of $6.44. It's retraced a little bit, sitting at $6.15 currently, but still up about 67.5%. Very strong growth from Battle Styles. Chilling Reign doing even better. This one's up about 69% over the past year. You can see in December of 2024, it was sitting at $4.49. That's when things started taking off again. Some weeks where there's just crazy sales volume because of the amount of product and inventory that a lot of these streamers needed. In March of 2025, it jumped up to $8.23. It's retraced a little bit. It's lost about 10% of that, but still 68.94% growth over the past year, sitting at $7.67 currently, which is really interesting. Here's Evolving Skies. We don't need to talk too much about this one. This one just continues to defy logic. In June of 2024, this was at $11.71, which is still a lot of money for a modern Pokemon set, but just strong volume throughout the entire thing. You can see it has backed off a little bit over the past couple months. You're looking at about 150 packs selling on a weekly basis as opposed to the 200 to 300 that it was selling in 2024. But you can see even in November, December, January, selling sometimes up to 800, 1,000 packs on a weekly basis on TCG Player. Jumped up to $26.16 recently, currently sitting at $24.41, up about 108% on the year, just continuing to climb. And I do think that there's still room to go, just judging by what we're seeing happen with Hidden Fates and what we're seeing happen with Team Up. I'm just a believer in this set, I guess, now. Fusion Strike, which has just garnished a ton of attention recently. This set was not loved a whole lot when it first came out. People loved chasing the Gengar. People loved chasing the Espeon. But outside of that, there was not a whole lot of love behind the set. And you can see that reflective on the sales volume from June of 2024 up until December of 2024. In July, it was at its one-year low of $4.10 per booster pack. But then in December, really started shooting up as far as sales volume goes. You can see 400, 500, 600 sales on a weekly basis basis on TCG Player, which is way different than the 100 that it was typically selling on a weekly basis. It jumped all the way up to $11.51 recently. Now it's sitting at $10.78. You're looking at about 127% growth on Fusion Strike. Even Pokemon Go, definitely not the sales volume that we saw from some of these other ones, but look at this March 25. Like, that is 1,400 Pokemon Go packs that sold on a weekly basis, as opposed to the normal, 50 to 100 that it typically sells. Obviously something fishy that happened on that day. July of 2024, it was sitting at $3.66, relatively flat at that point up until October. Then things started really taking off. It's jumped up about 71.5% now over the past year, sitting at $6.69 and continuing to climb. Here's Brilliant Stars right here in June of 2024. It was sitting right around $3.60 or so. Hit that 1 year low in September of $3.56. Relatively flat again until December, and then you start seeing this massive quantity of sales on a weekly basis. Started taking off, jumped all the way up to $7.47 recently. That's where it's sitting right now. So it's up about almost 100%, 98.67%, and continuing to climb. And a lot of these Sword and Shield era packs, the back half of Sword and Shield, not very accessible anymore on the secondary market. There's not a ton of collection boxes out there anymore. It's not very common that you're going to walk into a big box retailer and be able to find collection boxes on the shelves that are going to feature some of these Sword and Shield era packs. So there were a lot of them at the time, but as of 6 months, 7 months, 8 months ago, they started disappearing on the shelves, with most of the collection boxes out there containing just Scarlet and Violet era packs. Here's Astral Radiance right here in August of 2024. This was sitting at $3.29. Slow growth up until December, and then just massive sales volume that happened as a lot of people entered the hobby. A lot of money entered the hobby, and it jumped up 104% now over the past 3-4 months, 6 months really. It's jumped up 104%, up to $7.21, and continuing to climb. Astral Radiance, very cool set. Obviously the trainer gallery plays a big impact on things. The amount of pulls that you can get out of a booster pack play a big part in the success of Sword and Shield, and then the alternate art chases as well definitely play a big role. Here's Lost Origin right here in July of 2024. This is at $4.18. Really started taking off in November. You can see massive amounts of sales that happened on a weekly basis. In March, it started backing off. Didn't sell as much, so not as liquid as what it was, but it did jump all the way up to $9.51 recently. It's sitting at $9.15 currently, so up about 94% over the past year and continuing to grow. Silver Tempest, the last main series set of the Sword and Shield era in July of 2024, was sitting at $3.05. So it was sitting about $1 below MSRP, and it stayed relatively flat. You can see going up a little bit, and then in October it retraced back down to about $3, then started climbing. Then you just have a large amount of sales that happened again in January, February, March, where 600, 700, 800 packs were selling on a weekly basis. That caused these prices to climb and climb and climb. Jumped up to about $7.60 recently. Now it has lost a little bit. It's down to $6.44. So it's lost about 15% over the past couple months, but still you're looking at about 102% growth over the past year, sitting at $6.44 and continuing to just be very, very strong. Here's Crown Zenith right here, the last set from the Sword and Shield era before we moved into Scarlet and Violet. October of 2024, this was sitting at $3.68 per pack for a specialty set. But look at the sales volume on this one, which is absolutely insane. Part of this is because of the release of the Sea and Sky boxes. Part of this is because of the release of the booster bundles. They had a lot more Crown Zenith product that kind of hit the secondary market. And you're seeing 1 week where there was 4,000 booster packs that moved on a weekly basis, with the majority of those weeks between 2,000 and 3,000 packs selling. So in June of 2024, this was selling 300-400 packs a week. And then all of a sudden December of 2024, you're looking at 3,000-4,000 packs selling on a weekly basis, which is absolutely crazy. No wonder the prices have gone out of control. This one jumped about 104% now over the past year, with all that damage really happening over the past 6 months. Jumped up to $10.63. It's retraced a little bit to $10.10, but still doing extremely well, up about 104% on the year and continuing to grow. And because of that, the ripple effect has poured into Scarlet and Violet, and that's why you see a lot of growth in some of those Scarlet and Violet era packs as well. It's just crazy to watch. I do think Pokemon is getting it figured out. They're putting a lot more product on the secondary market through release of sets and boxes and things like that in their vending machines, and really focusing on the products that are harder to find, which is great. It'll be very interesting to see what happens as we move in throughout the rest of 2025 and then move into the next generation of Pokemon, move into the 30th anniversary. It's just crazy to kind of see the amount of movement on some of these sealed packs, especially during that one little brief stretch of time, those few months, because accessibility inventory was so low. So very interesting to see. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, please hit that subscribe button down below. Leave a like, leave a comment. It goes a long way for the algorithm. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. We will be back soon with another video. Thank you so much, guys. Until next time, peace.